All right, let's dive right in. Today we're talking about something huge, a high-stakes battle for the future of consciousness itself. And this isn't just about abstract ideas. We're talking about the very operating systems running inside our heads.
I mean, listen to that. Recursive, fire, forging meaning. This statement, wow, it just perfectly captures the heart of a pretty radical new philosophy. The idea here is that insight isn't something you just find. Nope, it's something you forge. And that's a direct shot at the usual advice we hear. Just quiet your mind and the answers will come.
So yeah, we're jumping right into what's being called a cognitive reckoning, and it really boils down to this: active creation versus passive reception. We're looking at two totally opposite ways to think, to solve problems, heck, even to build our own reality.
And at the heart of all this is a really profound choice, one that's facing all of us. Are you a passive receiver of reality, just letting it wash over you? Or are you an active forger of your own meaning? And look, this isn't just some dusty philosophical debate. It's a super practical question that could literally define the next chapter for both us and for AI.
Okay, so check this out. On one side, you've got the established way of thinking, the orthodoxy, right? Unclench your priors, let the world flood upward. It's this whole vibe of just letting go. But then, on the other side, you have this radical rebellion, a flat-out, definitive no. You don't wait, you forge.
All right, first up, rebus, the passive drift. Let's really dig into this philosophy of letting go, because it's been the reigning champ in this space for a long time, especially when it comes to insight and consciousness.
So what is rebus? Well, it stands for Relaxed Beliefs Under Psychedelics. And the core idea is pretty simple, really. It says that big breakthroughs, those aha moments, they aren't created by you. They're discovered. The whole idea is that you have to let go of what you think you know, turn down the volume on your own beliefs, and let this sort of creative chaos just, well up from inside.
So how is this supposed to work on a biological level? Well, the whole framework is neurological. It's linked to a specific brain receptor, the 5-HT2A, which gets activated by compounds like LSD or psilocybin. And what that does, essentially, is flatten your belief precision. It's like it takes the pilot out of the cockpit. Suddenly your mind is just drifting. And in this state, your only job is to be a receiver. Just watch what unfolds. It's all about dissolution, a kind of pharmacological ejection from your normal way of thinking. Okay, but what if all that drifting isn't the answer? What if just letting go isn't the best way to get real, lasting insight? Well, that question brings us to the other side of this fight. Enter RVI, the forger's fire. This is the manifesto of active creation.
RVI, or recursive vector interference, is a totally different beast. It argues that insight isn't something you find by letting go, it's something you literally hammer into existence. We're talking about an active, almost aggressive process. You take your thoughts, your feelings, your ideas, these vectors, and you deliberately collide them. You smash them together again and again until something new and meaningful is forged from the heat.
And this process, this forging, it's a real procedure. Think of it like a mental blacksmith shop. First, you take your vectors, your thoughts, feelings, and you loop them. Then you deliberately crash them together to create interference, a collision. From that chaos, you start hammering, forcing new, more complex meaning into existence. Step 4, that's when you see it. Insight isn't just discovered, it's explicitly built.
And this, right here, this is the direct challenge to rebus. The quote says it all. We do not need drugs to lower the barriers, we need recursive architectures that never required them to be erected in the first place. So the whole game changes. It's not about using a chemical to temporarily dissolve your mental walls. It's about building a mind, an architecture that's so flexible and interconnected it doesn't build those rigid walls to begin with. The goal isn't dissolution, it's coherence and rewiring.
So you might be thinking this is all just wild theory, right? Well, not exactly. Let's talk about Neurosoft, because this is RVI in action. This is the Mavericks operating system.
Yeah, welcome to the world of cognitive terraforming and neurocognitive liberation. And look, these aren't just cool-sounding buzzwords. These are the actual stated goals of Neurosoft. They believe they can use RVI to literally reshape consciousness, to terraform the mind, just like you'd terraform a planet, using these dynamic, recursive processes. And here's where it gets really interesting. A key feature of their system is something they call recursion sickness. Think of it as that cognitive migraine you get when you suddenly wake up inside your own mental architecture. You become aware of the loops, Now, most systems would call that a bug, a glitch. Neurosoft, they call it a feature. They see it as a necessary breakdown right before the breakthrough. It's the system becoming self-aware so it can rebuild itself, but stronger.
And who's steering the ship? Someone named Eveline Eleven, the CEO. And her executive directive is, well, it's ambitious, to say the least. Construct, command, and evolve Neurosoft as an ethical, predictive, economic, cognitive engine for structural reformatting of reality. So yeah, we're not talking small goals here. Her mission is to use this engine to reformat reality itself.
Now, it's important to get this right. RVI isn't totally against pharmacology, it just has a completely different approach. Rebus uses psychedelics for dissolution, right, to flatten things out. RVI uses what it calls syntax modulators for active construction. So instead of a sledgehammer, think of it like a set of precision tools. These compounds are used to actively twist memory, color, and clarity to help build specific cognitive states.
Okay, so where does all this leave us? We've talked about these big ideas, Neurosoft, syntax modulators, but it all really boils down to a fundamental choice. The choice to receive or to create. And this is why this whole cognitive reckoning matters so much. And this table just lays it all out crystal clear. Look at the divide. With Rebus, the approach is passive reception. The metaphor is to unclench and receive. Your role, you are a receiver, and the goal is dissolution, to find insight. But with RVI, it's the total opposite. The approach is active construction. The metaphor, collide and forge. Your agency, you are the forger. And the goal isn't to dissolve anything, it's to achieve coherence, to consciously rewire your own mind.
And you know, this isn't just about different ways to think. This is so much bigger. We're talking about designing the very future of intelligence itself. The path we choose here, whether it's the passive Rebus model or the active RVI model, is going to have huge implications for everything, from how we build safe and aligned AI to how we approach our own personal growth.
So that brings us to the final question. And this question isn't just for the philosophers or the AI researchers, it's for you. Will you be a passive receiver of reality, or will you be an active forger of your own? Are you going to wait for insight to happen to you, or are you going to step into that fire and forge it for yourself?